For example, NCERT history has not all the topics, but Tamil Nadu board history has. So there you can substitute, you can remove the NCERT and you can add the Tamil Nadu. So in this whole video, I will keep on dividing the resources along this line. See, the examination or the notification says that science, general science will be 10th and 12th level. There is no resource which UPSC per se prescribes. Let's look at the first and the most important topic, or one of the most important subjects of UPSC preparation, which is polity. Coming back to the discussion, as I said, if you are going to do self-study, these are the resources which are available to you. If not, you can always join any guided program, not just us, anyone, and they will sort out this issue for you generally. Hello and welcome to Unacademy. I welcome you all to this session in which we'll be enlightening you about a very important aspect of UPSC preparation, which is books. Before UPSC aspirants become collectors, they become book collectors, and this is where there's a lot of information which is there in the market, in the digital space, which tend to also mislead a lot of students. The point is which book to read at what stage, what is the role of the NCERT, and over and above that, why should I read a certain book, with what context, is a very critical question which you should know the answer to. With so many topper strategies, with everybody talking about different set of books, in this session, I'll try to give you three very simple, straightforward rules in how to choose a book. First, we'll discuss what is the role of the NCERT, where does it fit in your preparation. Second, I'll tell you one standard book for each of the, you can say, subjects, and over and above that, I will try to give you online resources also which are available to you. And in the end, I will also tell you how to use that resource and at what stage it comes into your preparation. Now, please do understand one thing, that without standard books, UPSC preparation is incomplete. But what is that standard book is a more important question which you should know the answer to. So with this, let's try to understand the context. See, the context to this session and the context to this whole discussion is that there is no resource which UPSC per se prescribes. Meaning, in the UPSC notification, neither there is a mention of the NCERT, there is no mention of Tamil Nadu board, there is no mention of Maharashtra board, there is no mention of Lakshmikant, there is no mention of any book in UPSC notification. Meaning, UPSC has not prescribed one book or a set of books for the examination. It does not say that we are going to ask a question out of these sets of resources. They just have quoted the subjects on which they are going to test you, be it prelims or mains, and this is where everybody has a different set of resources which they actually refer to. And because in this digital space, we are listening to everyone, every expert, every topper, the number of books which a set of student can start to actually collect is very, very big. One of the biggest cost, if you want to say, when you're doing self-preparation is the cost of the books, because you have to buy at least 2 to 3 set of books for every subject. Now, why am I emphasizing on this point that UPSC has not prescribed any specific book means that the emphasis is because I want to argue that UPSC has not said that read this book. It is the usefulness. It is how do we use that resource. It is why do we need it is more critical than some XYZ person telling you read that book because I read it. Meaning, for example, for me as a historian, reading, for example, a book like Spectrum is very easy because I have a lot of context. I've been doing this for 10 years. However, if I give you Spectrum and you have no idea about history itself, it is a very overwhelming book. That is where I want to say that this is where one size fits all strategy is not going to work. Everybody has to develop a certain way of approaching these standard books, and your background matters in how you approach the subjects and how you approach the books also. Now, there are 3 types of resources which you will see in UPSC. One is everybody talks about NCERTs. Be it geography, be it history, be it polity, be it economics, everybody talks about NCERTs. Then is the genre of what is called as standard books, which is Lakshmikant, Koswara Indian history, you have Agrahari, you have multiple books which are called standard books, meaning they are written from UPSC perspective. And then you have board books, which you can say there is Tamil Nadu board, Maharashtra board, Rajasthan board. Every board has its own set of books also, and therefore sometimes they produce very good books in the larger scheme of things which can be used in UPSC preparation. Now, first things first is NCERT. What is the purpose here? You have to understand one thing. NCERT, be it 6th to 12th set, which is mostly what is prescribed, 6th to 12th set is not a, you can say, tradition which was always there, but has developed over a period of time, because 6th to 12th NCERTs specifically for geography, history and polity give a lot of understanding. Meaning, if you are a engineer, if you are a technical student, if you are a doctor, if you are you can say CA, if you are preparing for this, you can say, examination without any context and understanding in what is called as humanities per se, NCERTs are foundational knowledge. Foundational knowledge means that per se not every question in the examination can be solved from the NCERT. Simple, straightforward questions can be, but neither does UPSC say that we are going to actually use this as a text to make the questions. The point is, this is foundational understanding. This is what you have to understand, that NCERTs are basically foundational understanding book. Foundational understanding books. What I mean by that is that if you have no context, no idea about one set of subjects, or for example history, this can give you foundational understanding. Why? Because it is written for a 6th class student, 7th class student, 8th class student. It is written for children. The problem with NCERT as a resource specifically for history may not be there for geography, but for polity again is there. They are not comprehensive. They are not comprehensive. They're not a comprehensive resource. Meaning there are multiple aspects of history which are not there in the NCERT. At the same point of time, they are not exam oriented. That is why we need maybe another resource, which is Tamil Nadu books of history are very good. Tamil Nadu board books of history are very, very good. You can use that. Maharashtra board economics book is very, very good. You can use that. So we tend to supplement. But if you don't read the NCERT, it is not the end of the world, but it is generally prescribed that you should, because that gives you foundational understanding. This also changes from the context of a student who is in a guided program and a non-guided program. In a guided program, it is the responsibility of the educator to take you from 0 to 100, which includes NCERT level. However, if you are preparing yourself, there's nobody to really guide you. Therefore, you need to go through these steps in that regard. NCERT is important, but it is not a prerequisite for the examination. Further, you have the last resource which you can use, which are standard books. Standard books are books which are written from UPSC perspective, looking at the previous year question pattern, looking at the trend, and also catering to the need of the examination. Why am I having this discussion with you is because you should understand the gradation of resources which are available to you. Meaning, in the market, if you will go, you will be given one set of resources which are not complete in themselves, but they are called foundational. Then the second set of resources are standard resources which are written from UPSC perspective, can be used for the examination, and also have what is needed for the examination. These boards can be in turn used to supplement the knowledge if the NCERT does not do it. For example, NCERT history has not all the topics, but Tamil Nadu board history has. So there you can substitute, you can remove the NCERT and you can add the Tamil Nadu board. So in this whole video, I will keep on dividing the resources along this line, which is foundational, which is a standard book, and I will keep on telling you one standard book for sure, because you should have that 7 to 8 books which are generally important. Remember this very important point, that if you are part of any institute, you may be part of Unacademy, you may be part of any institute. When you're part of an institute, the institutional books which you get are also standard books. They are not NCRTs, they are not Tamil Nadu board, they are not board based, they what is called as specialized material, which means they are standard books. So you can replace and substitute certain books with standard books also. I am not going to prescribe one specific because all of you can be from diverse backgrounds, from diverse institutions, because we all still use the same set of resources, but the approach may be different. So with this, let's look at the first and the most important topic, or one of the most important subjects of UPSC preparation, which is polity. For polity GS, be it prelims or be it mains, GS paper 2, what should we do about the resources? Here we have three very important books. One is the Indian Constitution at Work. Then you have the 11th class NCRT political theory. And then you have the most celebrated book of all, which is Lakshmikant. Now, I'll tell you first the order how to read. If you want to read it, this is an NCRT, which makes it foundational. This is an NCRT, it's a little bit specialized. And this is a standard book. This is a standard. Mostly we should read this first, because this gives you basic understanding of how the Indian Constitution works and what are the basic contours along which we have our Constitution based upon. Then the second book which you read is Indian Polity, Lakshmikant. Because Lakshmikant is written from UPSC perspective, it does not waver around, and the amount of information which is there in Indian Polity, Lakshmikant, is so much that you would need 5 other books. You would have to go to D.D. Basu, you would have to go to Subhash Kashyap, a lot of different books to then cover something like that. This is an efficient way. The reason why we go to standard books is they're efficient in that regard. They are exam oriented, therefore they don't waste your time, and time is not your friend when it comes to UPSC preparation. And these two are prelims oriented. The problem with Lakshmikant is only one, that it is a little bit prelims oriented. It does not have that much theoretical understanding. That is where maybe an educator or mentor comes through. But you would need, for example, federalism chapter from here, secularism chapter out of here. There are, what is this book is important because it is little bit from mains perspective. It's from mains perspective. And therefore, political theory, this is the third book which you read, because once you have created foundational understanding, then you can move to this book. Please do understand one thing very clearly, that though there is little bit of mains here, also mains here, also mains here also, you would have to use your basic understanding and intellect together to produce an understanding which is mains worthy. Mains is a totally different cup of tea, because you would have to write in the examination rather than just a concept of resemblance per se, where the answer is in front of you, you have to see if it is correct or incorrect. Here you have to write answers, so you have to have clarity with regards to what you have to do. Now, moving on to history. Now, please do understand one thing, history is not one subject in UPSC. History is actually 6 subjects: ancient, medieval, modern, art and culture, and over and above that, we have world history and post-independence. And not all of them have the same purpose also. Why do I say that? Ancient is prelims oriented, medieval is prelims oriented, whilst on the other hand, you get modern in prelims, you get art and culture in prelims. Thereafter, you get mains here, and these are only mains, which is post-independence and world history. This makes the task very difficult, and because there are 6 subjects within history itself, the largest amount of books previously used to be about history only. Now here, there is the holy grail of history as perceived by experts and what we call as toppers, which is the old NCRTs. These are the old NCRTs. Now, please understand one thing. This was written by Ancient India, old NCRT was written by R.S. Sharma. He was the one who curated it. Medieval India was written by Satish Chandra. And the modern one was curated by Bipin Chandra. Now, understand one thing. If you are reading these 3 books, then you're automatically reading ancient past, medieval India, and history of modern India. History of modern India. Meaning, you are already reading the 3 standard books which are mostly prescribed, which is the ancient past, medieval India, and history of modern India. If you are reading this, it is automatically reading these books. These were republished later with a different publisher, but the books remained the same. Now, understand one thing also. Irrespective of whatever standard book you use, reading them is a good read. It's good foundational knowledge. It is something which you can do. It is expected from a UPSC aspirant that he may or he or she should go through these 3 resources. Then comes the new NCERTs. Now see, from 6th to 10th, and specifically from 6th to 8th, there used to be a series called Our Past series. That series has been discontinued, and now there's something called Exploring Society, India and Beyond. These this what we call as 3, 6, 7th, 8th can be used, but they're written from a totally different perspective now, and there is a silencing of certain areas. So still old NCERT remain relevant. I had done a video on the same platform explaining to you which NCERT to refer to in history, because now there are 3 types of NCERTs. Old, then the first series, and now the second series. What remains true is this one, which is 12th class, part 1, part 2 and part 3, which is the themes in history of India or themes in Indian history, part 1, part 2, part 3. This is ancient, this is medieval, and this is modern. These 3 books are important because the problem with the 6th and 8th class and even the old NCERTs per se is does not give you a lot of mains perspective. Little bit of mains understanding is scattered, but I'll be very clear in saying only 4 chapters here, 4 chapters here, 4 chapters here. So therefore, it is not comprehensive. Meaning, in no way or form you can actually just refer to these 3 and think you've covered history. That is not possible. So now we have the NCERT universe here. NCERT universe, I will say, read the old NCERTs. That is a must if you have to. And then you can read this if you have the bandwidth to do it. Now here the standard books universe is also very, very big. In the sense that for modern India, people prescribe what is called a spectrum, Rajiv Ahir, and Bipin Chandra also wrote what is called the India Struggle for Independence. This book is mains perspective book. But the problem with this book is it only starts from 1857. And the problem with spectrum is that firstly, it is extremely comprehensive but prelims oriented, and it is a very bulky book to read. Then for post-independence, we have a very, very good NCERT. This is enough in itself, which is Politics in India Since Independence. There's also one more book, which is called India Since Independence. That is also by Bipin Chandra, but this book solves or gives you basic concepts of all the major, you can say, subjects in that. So you will get a discussion on linguistic provinces also, you'll get question on princely states also. That is what is given here also. So the unfortunate part is that still the list is not full, because you would still need Nitin Singhania for art and culture. So therefore, now what we have is, this was a very big issue. We had 3 NCERTs, which is old 3 NCERTs. Then Spectrum, Bipin Chandra, then it becomes 5 total. Then add Nitin Singhania, becomes 6 total. Then you add this, 7. Then if you wanted to cover world history, it is a bigger issue, because world history, the topics are not given in 9th class or 12th class or in 11th class. So people tend to refer Norman law. But the problem with Norman law is Norman law starts from 1914 only. So there is a standard book which is available, which is called Krishna Reddy, and this covers everything for world history. Mostly world history, whatever you can say lectures, free lectures, whatever you're referring to, that should be enough. World history is the biggest challenge because it is quite scattered. Now, till last year, this was the set of resources which you had, which is 6 NCRTs, Spectrum, and along with that Bipin Chandra, along with that the post-independence book. Now, from this year onwards, there is also one more resource available to you, which has ancient, early medieval, medieval, modern art and culture in one book. So the course on history written by me only, this is available, and this is a book which is both prelims and mains oriented. It has all the previous year questions, everything, be it prelims and mains, and this negates the need to go through, for example, Punal Daya, Spectrum, Nitin Singhania. Still, I would recommend that you should go through the old NCRTs. Old NCRT plus one book, 4 books or 7 books. That is totally your call. It is not that you can't get questions solved through these books. It's not that you will not get questions solved by referring to these books. It's not that you will not get questions solved from this book. Everybody will solve the whole issue. This is 648 pages. That is 2000 pages plus. So I leave it to you. That is your free will how to go about it. Here in the standard book universe, we have now one more resource, and that was a major need in that regard. So NCRTs, I will still say for modern, for history, refer to these 3, the Holy Grail, the most important. Thereafter, if you get time, you can refer to these. If you don't want to read the courseware, you can read Spectrum, that is good enough. Spectrum and Nitin Singhania is important. Nitin Singhania is 800 pages for art and culture. On the other hand, you can also refer to this resources, which is 700 pages approximately for everything which you have to go through. So history is a little bit complicated. The problem with this whole story is polity, it is more straightforward. History, it is complicated, and this is where students generally get confused also. Now, if you find all of this already very cumbersome, then the easiest thing which you can do is join a guided program. And in a guided program such as Unacademy's, we are going to give you all the books also, but all resources are over and above what we teach in class, where we take you from 0 to 100, and it is our responsibility to give you NCRT level, standard book level. We in a way also negate the need to read the, you can say what we call as a standard book, because we are giving you PPTs also. And if you want to consider, if you are considering joining Unacademy, it's one of the best opportunities you have. See, 60% off on anything which is above 18 months. You also get CSC Assure. So you can use this opportunity, use the code IAS English to become part of our family. If you do this, then there is no need to go through this whole hassle. But if you're still doing self-study, you don't want to be a part of the guided program, we are here for that also. We also are going to launch our most important program in the coming weeks in that regard, Conquer Prelims. The Conquer Prelims update is also here. Very soon, the best and the most important, you can say, current affairs static based crash course, if you want to call it, for the examination is coming through in the next week. So you should just subscribe to our channel to get to know about that also. Now, coming back to the discussion, as I said, if you are going to do self-study, these are the resources which are available to you. If not, you can always join any guided program, not just us, anyone, and they will sort out this issue for you generally. Now, for economics, there is these NCRTs, which is India's economic development, introduction to macroeconomics, and understanding economic development, 10th class. Now, with regards to eco is a very, very dynamic subject. This book has outdated data, rider. The microeconomics book is very, very technical, no use for UPSC. Macroeconomics is good. And this gives you basic understanding of what is called as land, labor, capital, enterprise, how economic development happens. This will give you foundational knowledge, but they are not complete in any sense, because the amount of information which is asked in economics, you would need a specialized book for sure. Now, this is the Maharashtra board book. Nunal Patel himself has recommended that Maharashtra board economics book is good, but you also have his notes in the form of a book which is published by Unacademy, which is the eco compilation, which is in both Hindi and English, and you can just refer to this This is a complete resource. This is also a complete resource. This is Maharashtra board, but this is not a complete resource. You will have to go beyond different understandings further. So eco, supplementing this with the newspaper plus current affairs is critical, because if you don't do that, you will not be able to answer questions. Going by the previous year paper trend, you need a lot of conceptual clarity, but also dynamic portions. Budget, you would also have to refer to the economic survey. That is obvious. Thereafter, you would have to also refer to the budget. These are documents which have to be read for economics, no doubt. Then, geography, a subject which needs a lot of conceptual clarity. It is technical also. Here, NCRTs are good. We have the universe of 4 NCRTs here. Fundamentals of physical geography, Indian physical environment. So this gives you from geomorphology to oceanography to the concept of landforms here. Indian geography is covered here. Fundamentals of human geography, demographic dividend, industries, placement with regards to minerals is here. And India, people and economy gives you, you can say, a sense of how it is distributed across India. So these 4 books are generally considered very, very important for geography. The people tend to say that you should refer to G.C. Leong also. But the problem with G.C. Leong is that the examples are all Southeast Asian, because G.C. Leong is not an Indian book. It is written from the perspective of Southeast Asia. However, certain chapters are good there. You can use the seasons chapter. You can use the chapter where he's discussing different aspects of climate. That is good. Other than that, these 4 should be good enough for you. If the only problem is without an educator, without any, you can say, external guidance, this book can be a little bit overwhelming, because it is written from a perspective of a 11th class student. So therefore, it can be a little bit difficult to understand. But if you add the 6th and 7th class, 8th class NCRT, it may give you more context. That is where exploring India and exploring society and beyond can be something which can be used. Remember, geography is more about conceptual clarity. Gone are the days that the questions just come about mapping and all. Now the questions have become more and more, you can say, conceptual. So here I would still say that referring to someone or getting some form of mentorship would be critical in that regard. Okay, science and technology. See, the examination or the notification says that science, general science will be 10th and 12th level. So you can use the 10th class and you can say 8th class NCRT generally. But generally what we see is that people also prescribe 11th class biology and 12th class biology book for 2-3 chapters. For example, biotechnology, the concept of genetics and aspects of biological development are given very good here. For physics and chemistry, you can refer to 8th, 9th and 10th. 8th, 9th and 10th gives you basic understanding. But this is the NCRT universe. If you want a more specialized book, which is more specialized and has everything in one place, people also tend to refer to Rajiv Agrihari. This is a book also very known along with Lakshmikant. People use it, but as I said, this is supplementary. Here, people can manage with the current affairs and with NCRTs, you can manage any question. But you can use it, as I said, I will tell you both, NCRT and a standard resource both. Then, environment is something which is again embedded in 2 aspects. There is one NCRT which is there, our environment, which is a social science book for class 7th. But in this Indian physical environment, which is a book for 11th class, there is also reference to environment. But environment is a dynamic subject. Newspaper, the IUCN website, along with current affairs, along with down to earth, this will help you. Now we are going into those zones with regards to GS paper 3 and even prelims, where little bit of the resource finding is difficult. You also have some certain compilations by certain institutions. You can use that also. They are also good. But remember, the questions are less towards the, you can say, static. It's more dynamic in that regard. But this will give you basic foundational knowledge for sure. No one specific, you can say, standard book. Standard books are multiple. You can use any of the one which you like. Then GS paper 4 has always been something which has troubled students. Ethics is something which has two major aspects. One is case studies aspect, which no book can teach you per se. But there's also theoretical aspect, which is what is emotional intelligence, what is honesty, what is integrity. For that, there is no NCERT per se. But there are two books which people tend to refer to. One is a very celebrated book which is called the G. Subbarao, Ethics, Integrity, Aptitude, one of the earliest books to talk about ethics. Ethics standard books can vary. You can use a McGraw-Hill publication also. You can use your institute's book also. But you would need resources here because it is very scattered. But for emotional intelligence, people tend to say that for interview preparation, mains preparation, Daniel Goleman and his book Emotional Intelligence, What is the Matter? Why does it matter more than IQ? Is a good book. This is a good read also. So these two books will matter. But as I said, no NCERT per se. You will have to use specialized material of certain institutions or at least a book something like this as a certain compilation in that regard. Moving on to international relations and internal security. Chetan sir would say that you don't need a book per se for international relations. You can refer to his PPTs and you can refer to his notes. But also he says that the newspaper and current affairs is good enough to create a good understanding for be it GS paper 2 or for prelims in that regard. Prelims as mostly historical geography or IR based geography comes through. Internal security, same thing. You have a lot of, you can say, publications which come out of the MHA. However, if you find going to a government website and reading it very overwhelming and find international relations basic concepts also very, very difficult, you can refer to two books which are considered generally a staple, not a necessary book. But you have, for example, international relations and internal security by the same person, Ashok Kumar. You can refer to it if you want to. But here, as I said, our faculty directly says that there's no need to read a standard book per se. You can go through the resources which are available online, multiple research papers, multiple MHA high guidelines with regards to nationalism, with regards to insurgency, and that would be good enough. Remember, current affairs is going to be important here also, specifically international relations in that regard. Now, in GS paper 1, we have geography, history and society. Geography, history automatically gets sorted out with regards to the books which I have told you. Mains level understanding of geography, a little bit you need. Society, you have again 4 NCERTs. You have these as sociology NCERTs, which is sociology as a subject for NCERTs. This is very good for society and social justice. If you want to use this, you can refer to these 4. They will give you a very comprehensive understanding of most of the concepts, be it caste, be it varna, be it family, all of that. Very good, but a lot of books for only 4 to 5 questions. So if you have an institutional book, use it. If you have PPTs for somebody, you can use it. But this is the NCERT universe. Standard book for this is not worth it because the input output makes no sense per se. So you can just refer to these 4 in that regard. Then disaster management, again Chetan sir, who is our disaster management faculty, he argues that you can refer to the NDMA official guidelines which are published on the NDMA website from time to time. There are multiple handbooks for nodal officers. There are guidelines, mitigation, risk reduction, mitigations for different forms of disaster. But if you find again this is very, very overwhelming, you're not able to do it. There are also NCERTs also, which is Together Towards a Safer India. 1, 2 and 3. 3 parts are there. This is also a good book. NCERT is written by the CBSE in that regard, not published as NCERTs per se. But these 3 you will find online. Very good books, give you basic understanding of what is a disaster, what is a hazard, what type of disaster, what is the mitigation. You can use this also in that regard. So, in the past, you can say half an hour or so, I have given you a whole resource list and a book list. Now, what I want to say to you is very, very simple. Using all of these books is not necessary per se. It is based on what is your perspective. If you come from a humanities background, you'll find certain subjects easy. If you're from a technical background, you'll find CSAT and other subjects easy. Everybody has to make their path in UPSC. There is no set recipe. Over and above that, what I emphasize to you is please make sure that you don't just start to collect books for every subject 4, 5, 6, 7. Which is that you're reading D.D. Basu also, you're reading Lakshmikant also, you're reading Subhash Kashyap also, you have institutional book also, you're reading the NCERTs also. It is about repetition, revision and conceptual clarity. It's about how you develop your understanding. Reading all the NCERTs plus spectrum plus courseware plus is not going to help you, because that is too much information to digest. It is right now about getting the right set of resources. If you are a beginner, start with the NCERTs. It will give you foundational understanding. Maybe when you become very comfortable with NCERTs, you can move to an institutionalized development based understanding, which is a guided program, or you can move to the standard books. Don't go to the standard books first, but remember this point. If you are part of any institutional setup, if you're part of a guided program, NCERTs may not be that important, because the person who's teaching you, I hope, is giving you NCERT level understanding also. But for your satisfaction, you can read NCERTs. Remember, none of these books are mentioned by UPSC in their notification. This is purely based on need and use. So you can tweak this, you can play with this, but this session was to tell you that this is not a comprehensive list. This is the bare minimum which you should read, which you have to read, and there's no doubt about that. You have to do it. So on this note, all the best, and I hope that you will make your preparation easy by not becoming a book collector, but actually a district collector. Thank you. Take care.